That's basically, rather than financing the improvements through a bond or a long-term bond, it's literally cash in, cash out. As the revenue comes in from the development district, say it's $200,000 a year in captured value, you're just spending $200,000 a year in improvements within the district.
Okay.
So you're not leveraging the payment, you know, against a bond or anything like that.
All right, great. Thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Yep.
Anyone else? There's certainly going to be more discussion on this as we proceed anyway, and I'm sure that the town council will have a series of meetings also. But this is just a start, and I appreciate everyone coming, and I certainly appreciate you coming, Bill.
Oh, thank you.
It's informative, and if we can...
Again, I look forward to coming back. I don't know, I'm here.
I think this is an iterative thing, because we're learning what's going on. And
I'm spending so much time here, I'm wondering if I can claim on my taxes that I'm a resident of this. My accountant said, no, you have to have an actual residence, so if anyone has any property for sale. Thank you.
You're welcome. Why don't we take a 5-minute break, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the meeting.
Oh, actually, that works out because...
Melissa had to go to leave, and I'll appoint Greg to vote for John.
Aye.
You're all set, Greg?
Yep.
You rise to the occasion. Okay, next item is Bernard Fillion, Tax Map 3, Lot 131. This is a continued public hearing for a site plan and a conditional use permit for a change in the use of the site from a warehouse drywall supply company to various small commercial uses. And just identify yourself for our records, Tony. And,
Mr. Chairman, I'm Tony Marcotte here on behalf of Bernard Fillion to go over any issues that came up on the plan. Have Katie Weiss from Bedford Design is also here to answer any engineering questions on the project.
okay, John or Tim.
Yeah, again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, the application was accepted on June 4th. There is a waiver that the applicant is requesting. Originally they had requested a waiver which was granted on the 4th of June. The applicant has requested an additional waiver to section 3.08B5 and exhibit D3. The applicant indicates 220 feet of site distance where 365 feet is required. Staff recommends denial of the waiver. Staff recommends the applicant provide the proper site distance for the existing driveway and update the site distance plan and profile accordingly with a proper certification and compliance with the regulations and obtain any site distance easements as required. The applicant has not approached the abutting lot to inquire about a site distance easement and permission to make improvements to enhance the site distance until such time that the applicant has submitted written documentation. Currently, only anecdotal observations are offered by the applicant. No communication from the abutter has been offered to the staff by the applicant. The abutter is not willing to provide the easement and allow for necessary improvements. Staff cannot support the waiver request. There is a conditional use permit, and staff recommends granting of the permit with a recommendation of the Conservation Commission, which is in the packet. And I do have a few engineering issues. Real briefly, again, item number 1 was as it relates to the site distance easement, or excuse me, the site distance. Item 2 were some comments related to the drainage report. Some of them are typographical errors, and some of them are just some quality assurance checking on the part of the engineer. Item 3 we're requesting clarifications to the site plans, notes, dimensions, sign locations, and providing the auto turn template for the WB50 truck, which the applicant is saying will utilize the site. Item 4 is clarifications to some grading plans. Item 5 is, again, checking if there's any additional work that's required on Old Nashua Road. Again, this is dependent on the site distance improvements. And lastly, to address the traffic comments from Stantec in their memo dated July 9th, 2008. That was it.
Okay, thank you, John. Tim?
As John mentioned, I do agree with the recommendation of denial on the waiver. As you know, in the past, there's typically been split recommendations on existing driveways for site distance. However, in this case, where we have not received anything from the abutter indicating their willingness or the willingness not to make improvements, until I have such information, I'm not comfortable recommending the waiver at this point, given the information we have available. Relative to the traffic comments, there are a couple minor traffic comments remaining to be outstanding. First is just adding some justification to the report for the trip distribution. The second one is graphically representing the trip distribution to Route 102. And the last comment is just incorporation of those comments in a final bound report. There is a conditional use permit required for this project, and in the packet you will find the recommendation from the Conservation Commission to recommend approval of the CUP, and as such, staff does recommend the CUP. In addition, in summary, we do recommend conditional approval based on the information we have available to date tonight, with the recommended precedent and general and subsequent conditions as outlined in our memo to the board this evening.
Okay, thanks, Tim. So basically with the site distance, that all possibilities have not been exhausted up to this point.
That's staff's
That's our
position.
opinion, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we have met with the abutter, and I don't have written confirmation, but I would like, if the board would see fit, that subject to getting it written from the abutter. We did stake out the potential easement on the property line. I am a professional engineer registered in the state, so I'm bound by my ethics and my license to tell you the truth. So we did speak to the abutter, and they did say, no, I don't have written confirmation. The only reason why I'd like the board to consider us submitting that at a later date based off my word from, and I'm basing that off from Katie Weiss from Bedford Design, talking directly with the owner after staking the easement. We're at the beginning of July. We've been through this process. As you know, we started probably about a year ago. We'd like to do these improvements that the town's been asking for a lot of years. We continue this to next month, and then another 30 days to get the Mylars, et cetera, and we're really looking at not constructing these improvements this year, and it would be a shame to come as far as we have based off from this driveway has existed for 30 years. This is a less intense use. The only problems that occurred with this driveway when there were too many trucks that couldn't fit into the site when it was wallboard. They have since moved to the facility, which this board approved their site plan. So the major traffic issues that occurred with the site was because it was wallboard. So we're making less pavement, less storage area, which means less vehicles, less employees. So, you know, this site has existed for more than 30 years as a more intense use. It meets the AASHTO site distance. We did approach the abutter. It's a photo studio, and that corner of the property is where all the vegetation is, and they have said no. And again, there's no, the only history that we could see of issues in the 20 or 30 years that this site has existed is when there were too many trucks that couldn't fit into the site, when it was a different use.